So I actually caught this pretty cool clip of Ana Kasparian from the Young Turks on CNN. She actually ends up going into a back and forth with this guy he's a Democratic strategist. Pretty much every single Democratic strategist is pretty much complete garbage. The only one who I've seen seems to have like some sense is David Axelrod. He used to work for the Obama campaign. He seems to have some things that he knows and understands, but virtually all the rest of them are straight garbage and mean nothing and offer no value. But she actually kind of slams him. So let's check this out.
Biden's campaign is worried. His donors are also worried. There's a lot of talk of them moving to other moderate candidates, Pete Buttigieg being one of them. But for anyone paying close attention to Biden's debate performance and, more importantly, the way that he handles some of the more difficult questions from people who go to his rallies, you could have seen this coming from a mile away. He's really struggled in this campaign. He's struggled to have a clear, concise message. He's struggled to differentiate himself policy-wise from the other moderates. And I think it's really starting to catch up to him. Amy Klobuchar, to her credit, continues to be authentic and honest about the positions that she holds. She does not want to push for real structural change that Bernie Sanders wants. She wants to go in the more moderate lane. And I think that she has positioned herself as someone who's way more authentic than Pete Buttigieg when it comes to that brand of politics. However, if you look at the polling, even though Bernie Sanders has had an incredibly consistent message regarding the policies that he's championing, it hasn't hurt him in any way. It's only helped him. And it's because if you take the labels away and just focus on what he's proposing for the American people, they like his policies. It's extremely popular. That's why you have Pete Buttigieg proposing Medicare for all who want it, because he realizes that Medicare for all is incredibly popular, but he knows that he doesn't actually support Medicare for all. He wouldn't push for real reform.
All these candidates are advocating real reform. And while they have different approaches to getting there, they're all committed to expanding health care for all Americans. And I think we have to be very, very clear about understanding that while we may have differences with them, they're all committed to structural change, dramatic change, and especially from what we represent in the White House. But I think we have to be very careful about making sure we don't descend into personal attacks. For example, Sanders' attack on Pete Buttigieg.
I don't think that was a personal attack. I mean, Amy Klobuchar has been clear. She's been clear in saying, you know what, I'm the pragmatic candidate. I'm not going to promise you anything. And look, to her credit, the fact that she's incredibly authentic resonates
By the way,
with people.
that's just incorrect, Anna. You can be pragmatic and also advocate structural change.
I think that you have a misconception about what she's promising the American people.
Wow, so that was really, really good. Anna making a bunch of good points. Actually, I used to make that point about Klobuchar when I was covering the Kamala Harris campaign in the early on days to the medium days, because I would look at Kamala Harris and I was like, she's lying through her teeth right now. She's not for Medicare for all. She's not for any of this stuff that she's proposing. And I was like, dude, if you are going to come into this race, be honest with us. Tell us the truth. I could see through Kamala Harris from a mile away. Then she ended up backing away from Medicare for all, as we all predicted, obviously. And so I always gave Amy Klobuchar props. I was like, dude, I don't agree with anything she says, but goddamn, at least she's honest about it. There's something really disgusting about somebody lying about their political positions as they're vying for office. And so always giving Amy Klobuchar props for openly being a moderate, because, hey, man, if that's what you believe in, tell us what you believe in, and then we'll decide whether or not we agree with you on that, And that's what she's done. I don't agree with her on any of her, stuff. But what's really hilarious there is that this guy, and I don't know who this guy is, Robert Zimmerman, unfortunate last name, but he's probably one of those guys. He's definitely in the Washington bubble, obviously. He's not, in the real world. He doesn't know anything about that kind of stuff. He's kind of a geezer, too. So he's probably just not really in tune with virtually anything outside of that Washington, DNC, Democratic powerhouse, bubble. Because that Democratic machine is damn strong, and that Democratic machine is a hunk of garbage when it comes to actually doing stuff and actually getting stuff passed. So I'm not sure if he's aware, what structural change is or what it means, but structural change is not doing moderate little tidbits of bullshit. That's not what structural change is, obviously. And that's why my reaction to him saying that is just laughing my ass off. He says, not only is he saying that Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar are for structural change, but that all of the Democrats are for structural change. I don't know. He definitely doesn't know what that means at all. Structural change is actually changing the structure of how our system works, okay? And so by taking what we have now of this private insurance system and then just putting a bandage on it, that's not doing structural change, you know? Doing these little sort of mini little tidbits, that's not any structural change. That's just doing a little tidbit of a difference to the system we already have in place. The thing that would be structural change is what Bernie's doing, which is saying, look at this system, it's working, and we need to break it, okay? Because it's rigged, but it's rigged on purpose. It's set up to be fucked up, all right? It's set up to benefit the top, you know? And so, obviously, health insurance companies are making, like, record profits and all of this stuff, and so you have to break that system. You have to do structural change, which is get rid of private insurance companies because they gouge, they obviously price gouge. They're not good negotiators on your behalf at all. And it's just too much of a clusterfuck when you have 5 trillion different insurance companies negotiating with doctors and hospitals. It's insane. And so that's why every other major nation has basically come out, has their own universal plan, typically through very few insurance plans, some of them more than others, like in Canada. The way that basically what our healthcare system would be under a Medicare for All system is it would be a Canadian system on steroids. So if you don't know how the Canadian system works, it's basically the same thing. They give you this public insurance card that covers everything except for dental and vision, all right? And so what Bernie's done is he's actually added dental and vision to it. So he took a system that's pretty great already and was like, you know what? I'm going to go Super Saiyan on this. It's like taking it to a whole nother level because now there's holes, right? And so, Jagmeet Singh of the NDP is trying to do, vision and dental because I don't know why people we're lied into believing that, teeth and eye care is like some sort of luxury. Like, no, those are just as crucial, especially your teeth, dude. If you look at like the wiring is the way it is to your neurons, it's absolutely insane. And so it would cover everything, and that would be structural change. Get rid of the private insurance companies who are destroying our system. Institute this new system that will actually save our healthcare system and improve it. That is structural change. We don't even know what Pete Buttigieg really wants, and actually, I've been reading about some articles recently about Pete Buttigieg's plan, which apparently there's something about he's going to like backcharge people who are on that Medicare for All who want it plan. So they're going to be paying like thousands of dollars some years. And so we don't even really know what Pete Buttigieg even really wants. He claims one thing, but then says another thing like sometime later. And so it's like, I don't really know what the fuck you support. I don't know what you're for. I don't know what you're against. He was for Medicare for All literally like a year, maybe a little bit less than a year ago, somewhere around there. There's a tweet of him where he says he's for Medicare for All, and there's another video where he says, oh, it's not radical, dude. It's not radical to support Medicare for All. And then you look at what he's doing now. It's like, what happened? And then obviously you see that he's getting bankrolled by billionaires and doing these now infamous wine cave fundraisers, where you get all these billionaires to max out their donations to you. And so it's hilarious. I mean, just think about how stupid you have to be and how much in a bubble you have to be in this Democratic Party, Democratic machine, Obama, Clinton, circle bubble. It's a bubble. This guy is in a bubble. He's in a bubble. He doesn't see what's going on. He probably doesn't even look outside or at any of the movements or anything like that, for him to think that they're going to do structural change. And so this is why you need to vote for Bernie Sanders. And the thing is, man, honestly, it's time for us to just say that we're straight up Bernie or bust. And basically, we need to just, sort of metaphorically, put our boot on their throat at this point. Essentially what we need to do. Because we just need to say, hey, look, buddy, if you don't nominate Bernie Sanders, we're not fucking voting for the Democratic candidate. So that means if you want a Democrat to win, elect Bernie Sanders as the nominee. If you don't, you lose the election to Donald Trump. The choice is yours because they're not going to bring any structural change. And the problem is that is exactly what leads to someone like a Donald Trump or a George W. Bush or whoever. That is exactly what leads to those kinds of people, especially a Donald Trump. Mealy-mouthed centrism for 4 to 8 years. Sometimes they don't even get elected. Okay, Hillary didn't even get elected. But that was obviously post 8 years of just, mealy-mouthed centrism from Barack Obama. A lot of stuff he was doing wasn't even centrist. It was just pure right-wing. And so we have to break the system. That's what we have to do. And so structural change on every issue, on healthcare, money and politics, education, all of this stuff. And so absolutely hilarious. I am happy that CNN is having progressives on. This is a whole another show that Anna's on. Usually she's on Cuomo's show. And I think I've come to the conclusion that it seems to be the case. CNN may be less anti-Bernie Sanders than MSNBC, if not just for the fact that MSNBC doesn't seem to have on any of these progressives that CNN is bringing on. I mean, come on, CNN is bringing on Anna, they're bringing on Cenk, they keep bringing on Crystal Ball nonstop. They were supposed to have John Iadarola on too. I don't know what happened with that though. But anyways, yeah, shout out to CNN for bringing on these progressives, man. Really doing some good stuff and just popping bubbles.